Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone. I'm Chatty, this is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about my 6 plans for 2026. So it's been a while since I have been doing like regular bookish videos. I did get a little bit more busy in December because of the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Awards, which was lots of fun. But I love this time of year for booktube content. I love seeing everyone talk about their goals and whether they hit them and what their fresh ones are going to be for this year. I just love books about plans and data. Videos. Videos about bookish plans and data. It's really exciting for me and so much fun. So I wanted to be able to share with you what I'm doing. I have taken a little bit of a break from booktube. Sort of from August, I just needed to have a break. I did make a video that I never posted, and I might do some sort of like reflection video about did it change the way I read, not being on booktube and then coming back into it again. But that's all for the future. We're not going to deal with that now. I want to talk about my plans. So I'm not going to be being as regular on booktube. There are some videos I do want to be doing. So I want to do my top 10 middle grades that I read in 2025. I would like to do a reflection on my goals from last year and goals for this year, again, because it's fun. And then I'm hoping to do my Middlegrade Madness challenge video, which I will come on to in a moment, because that is one of my plans for 2026. So the way I kind of do booktube is going to change slightly to make it more workable for me. And I did cut my break short. I thought I was going to not come back again until like maybe March, maybe the summer, maybe have a year off. But doing the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Awards and then just being excited about all of the bookish content and everyone's plans, I was like, I'm excited to do this. I think it also helps that I've been off work for a couple of weeks. I managed to get 2 weeks off work for the Christmas holidays, and that has just given me more spare time to be able to do this. So I am taking advantage of it. So I am not editing this. This is a one-shot, no editing. Camera keeps rolling and then I can just put it up and I don't need to edit, which is wonderful. So I have my tiny teacup. Cheers, everybody. Clink, 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 clink. Just going to adjust the camera having said that, because there's a lot of green curtain and it's a bit boring, but this is my window. So if I have it open, the view is nice. We have snow, but the lighting is terrible and I turn into this shadowy figure. So let's not do that. I wanted to sit here though, because this is a place I usually chat about my wrap-ups and I'm not doing those for a while. So I just wanted to use this space again. So back on target. The 5 plans that I did in 2025, I'm going to go through those first. And then I'm going to talk about my 6 plans for 2026. So my first plan that I wanted to do throughout the year was I wanted to reread a favourite epic fantasy series. I had a few options that I was keen to reread. I love Chorus of Dragons. I love the Lycanius trilogy. But I went with my all-time favourite, which was The Realm of the Elderlings. I was so keen to reread that, pick up on all of the little bits that Hob put in there that I would understand more having gone through the whole process, and just be back with Fitz again and all those wonderful characters and just see more, because there's so much more to pick up. So that was the plan. I was like, Realm of the Elderlings, I'm going to read. I wasn't thinking I'd get the whole because there's like 16 books, but I thought at least 9 is a good goal, possibly 12. I read 2.5. I went back into the Farseer trilogy. So I read Assassin's Apprentice and I read Royal Assassin. And Royal Assassin, I had a big pause in the middle because I thought it's rereading. I'm going to be fine. But also because you know what's coming up. And it's like, I know I can't read this until I've got a long amount of time, because I need to be emotionally ready and to feel the impact fully. And I need a good big length of time to just sit and absorb the story in. I can't pick it up, read a few pages and then move on again. It's not that type of book that you can pick up and put down. It's very emotional. There's a lot of stuff. But when I then was in the right frame of mind for reading, I had an absolute blast rereading Royal Assassin. It was so good. So then I was all buoyed up, Assassin's Quest. I kind of pricked up probably like the next week and started reading again, had a wonderful time. And then I kind of got to a bit where I got stuck again. And it was like when other stuff was coming in to do and I was busier. So I put it down and then I didn't pick it up. And I'd got to a point where Assassin's Quest is split into kind of 2 sections, not officially, but there's kind of one storyline where you're just focusing on one character and kind of the place he needs to come to and place he needs to get to. And then there's another, then the second part is kind of more plot based and involving lots of other characters. So I'd kind of just got to that meeting point, the ending of one of them and the start of the other. And I was happy to kind of sit there. It felt nice. Like it was relatively peril free at that point. And I just wasn't picking it up again. And I wasn't picking it up again. And then kind of when I got to the acknowledgement in August where I was like, I need a break. Like this isn't working. I'm wanting to do too much and my life needs more of my attention rather than booktube, which is where my brain, because it's more fun, naturally goes. Like books. Let's bury my head in the sand about things I might need to do and just think about books. It's like, no. Get out the sand, focus on life. So kind of when I put down booktube, I put down Assassin's Quest and I put down a few other like plans and things and packed them all away mentally in my head. I was like, that's just not happening. So it wasn't the right time. And I think because everything else feels stressful, being stressful when you're reading, it just wasn't quite helping because I have such a big emotional connection to these characters. I care about them a lot. Fitz is my book baby. And I know what's going to happen and I know it hurts. So it wasn't the right time for my Realm of the Eldlings reread. That will happen. It's not happening in 2026 because it's been too close to 2025 and a part of me will still feel sad that I had to put it down and I wasn't reading it as close together. So I'll pick it up again another time. So that's been parked. So I didn't do my first plan. My second plan was that I wanted a tin. And in this tin, I put in 15 TBR vets. And I put in 13, because I never got around to writing 2 others, new books that had come in sort of within the last year to my personal library. And throughout the year, the plan was I would take one out and read it, or take a few out and then choose between them which ones I wanted to read. And it would just kind of keep those books kind of more at the forefront of my mind, and I would see how many I would read. This was successful. This really worked for me. I've written down more about that. And I'm not on that page, so just bear with while I find the right notes. It's coming. There we go. Bookmarks are helpful. Let's put some of those in. Whoop. So yeah, I really enjoyed having this TBR tin, and it was really fun because I couldn't always remember what I'd put in. So the unknown and the enjoyment, excitement of what I was going to get, and there wasn't a pressure to read it. It wasn't like I've pulled it out, I have to read it. I had a choice, so I could kind of use my mood a bit more. And feel what kind of felt right for me, which was particularly helpful after my break in August. So this was a success. So from my TBR vets, I unhauled Arrow to the Moon, which was a YA fantasy. I did a little try chapter thing with some of the books when I was sorting out my shelves. And Arrow to the Moon was one that I was like, it's not for me. So that one got unhauled. I did reread Little Women. This didn't count as a reread, it counted as reading a veteran book for the first time because it was a new edition of Little Women. So I've only ever read Little Women from my mum's collection, and that was when I was a teenager. So I hadn't read Little Women in years. I'd got a new book and I wanted to read from that particular copy. So I think it was 2021 when I got that particular copy. So that was great. I actually read Little Women, so that was fun. I read Let's Call It a Doomsday, which is one of the YA contemporary books that I've had on my list for ages and I've had on my shelf for ages, and just it was never its time. And I'm so pleased I read it when it was its time. It was a really wonderful read for me because I really love YA contemporary that talks about social justice issues, and this definitely explored mental health, and I really found that really interesting, and the dynamics between the different characters and the family dynamics. It was great fun. I really enjoyed that one. I then read The Guilty Feminist, which is a non-fiction I've had on my shelves again for a really long time. And there were definitely like bits from that I found really interesting, and I think it's a really good starting point, and really has got me into wanting to read more books about feminism. And I read Wild Spark, which is a middle grade read that I'd had on my wish list for a long time, and then I was given the book, and then it's just sat on my shelf anticipating and then never picking it up. And I had a wonderful time reading that. It was such a good book. And then I had The Lamplighters, again, been on my shelf for ages. I just got this one to hand, so I just picked it up now. The cover is gorgeous and the edges are gorgeous. And the story didn't necessarily work for me, so this is going to be on hold. But I'm glad I've read it. Like I thought it would be a fun thriller, but it's not my type of thriller, not my type of mystery. It just didn't work for me, but it might work for other people. But the cover is gorgeous. The cover is gorgeous. So hopefully someone will really enjoy getting their hands on that one. But it's been nice having it on my shelf, anticipating it. And now it's going to go to a new home. So that was six of the vets I have tried. So that was great. And then 4 of the new books I also tried. So I read Pet, which I also have to hand again because it's near me. So I have actually had Pet for a while, but this was from my under the bed stash, which is where I keep books that are new, and sometimes I will give them to myself for being healthy or to cheer me up. So the under the bed stash is still a thing. So this came out this year from that stash and was on my shelves for me to read, and I read it for Transgirl April and really enjoyed it. It definitely lived up to the hype, so that was brilliant to finally read Pet. Another one which was a real comfort read for me is a non-fiction memoir called The Bookworm, a memoir of childhood reading, which was, again, I felt it was perfect time when I read it. And the other 2, one was a middle grade, Miss Mary Kate Martin's Guide to Monsters, and it was the something worm. It's like about a giant worm, and this was a really cute middle grade. I really enjoyed reading that one. And then I read one of the Shakespeare graphic novels, and it was Hamlet, Prince of Denmark Street, and that was also a lot of fun reading that, by Kev F. Sutherland, where he's changed the story slightly to give it 1980s records vibe, which sounds a bit mad, but it was great fun, and there's a bit of a twist to it as well, so I really enjoyed that graphic novel. So this was really successful. So there were 10 books from the TBR Tin that I got to, so really pleased with that, and I'm going to be doing something similar for my 6 plans for 2026. My 3rd plan was a reread plan. So for this one I had 4 books named that I wanted to reread. So these were all standalones rather than a series. That was the first plan. So I had The Book Thief, Girl with the Louding Voice, The Starless Sea, and Sorcerer to the Crown. 4 books I really, really love. Didn't read a single one of them. Just wasn't their time. I'm not sure why. I think to start off with, in my head, The Book Thief I want to read in the autumn, because that's the vibe it gives me. The others, I feel, The Girl with the Louding Voice, I feel I want to read in the summer. And the others I felt I could read anywhere, but it never was the right time. I very nearly picked up Sorcerer to the Crown, but then I didn't. So it just didn't feel like the right time for me, so I didn't feel inclined to pick them up. I don't know if this is also because of then also just that I was failing my reread of My Realm of the Elderlings. So I felt like if I'm rereading something, I need to reread that. There were also other books that I was rereading. So yeah, I think that weren't on this list. There was quite a lot of rereading this year, so it never quite was that point. I also gave myself categories, and I felt this could have been more successful. So I had 3 categories. One was to reread a YA contemporary book. And this could be off my shelves or from the library that I'd already had. I really enjoyed them and I just wanted to reread one. Again, that didn't happen. Another was I wanted to reread a non-fiction. Nearly happened, but not quite. I suppose technically it did, but I'll come on to that in a minute. And the other was to buy myself a book that I loved and reread it that I don't own already. So there were lots of different contenders for this one. And this is the one that I am counting. And that was When Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. And it's a memoir of Omar Mohammed's time growing up in a camp. I'm trying not to say the wrong camp. Refugee camp. Sorry, it's in a Kenyan refugee camp. Sorry, the brain just stopped working. And this is very powerful, very emotional, and just beautifully told. But I think one of the reasons I definitely read this was because I was taking part in Katja's Read Around the Globe that she did with Jack, and this was their pick for March and April. So that definitely kind of like spurred me on to get involved with it and to get myself a copy and to reread it because I loved it. So that was great. So thank you to them for, because I think if they did that, I don't know if I would have then bought myself another book and done this. So the rereading was not very successful, but I like the idea of encouraging me to reread from my shelves. So I'm going to look and explore that one a bit more for my plans coming up soon. So it's going to have a different format. My 4th plan was I wanted to read a new series to me. I wanted to start a series where I only have the first book in my collection. So I have some where I've enjoyed other books from the author, or I've heard really good things and I really feel that I'm going to love it and I've got the whole series. I've done that less and less as the years have gone on. So I have quite a few books where I have just bought the first book, intending to read it, see if I enjoyed it, and then continue with the series. And then I just never picked up the book. And I think that's because I'm so conscious of wanting to get through my series more systematically, so I'm not forgetting stuff that has already happened. And I didn't do this one either. So my plan was to do a bit of a tea and taste, try them all, see what I felt in the mood for and start. But I think I felt I couldn't start until I got my series down a bit more, and I felt like I wasn't doing that. So I never got round to that. So I still want to do this, and I'm going to address this in my next plans. And my 5th plan, the final one, was doing the Can I Read Romance project. I am going to count this as a success because I did do one. My intention, I'd love to have done 3. I really enjoyed the first one I did. I felt really proud of, I actually edited it, and I felt really proud of how I edited it, how I put it together. It was a lot of fun. I liked following my own journey of what I thought I was going to think going into the books, how I felt as they continued and what I felt like at the end, and then scoring them to see if the romance worked for me or not. But I only did one. So I had 3 very different books. I enjoyed this project a lot. It was great, but the editing was a lot. And when I started the second one, it was starting to be the time where I was feeling overwhelmed a bit by everything. And my editing program packed in. I lost all of so I didn't lose the original footage, but I lost all the half-made videos that I'd done and like templates I'd set up for myself. So everything was going to take a lot longer because I'd have to start again from scratch. And I got really sad. So there was a video I was really proud of that it was my Transgirl April sort of focused book thing, and I lost it all because it froze and it wouldn't let me continue doing it. And I think it's because I put so much editing into it, because I'm just doing everything from my phone, but I think it was a bit too much for my phone to cope with, or whatever it was to cope with. And then I felt unable to edit things again. I've been able to do shorter, smaller ones. So I've done ones that are like 15 minutes and I was still okay with editing those. So I've got a little bit, but that was too much. So I packed all of that in. I didn't finish I finished one of the books, but I didn't continue with the other two because I just kind of parked it all. And yeah, but the first video I did, I am really proud of. It was really enjoyable, and I did continue to read more romance. I just didn't document it in that way, and I have had a good time, and I think I know which books work for me and which don't, which is great. So those are my 5 plans. Mixed bag. I'd say probably not as successful, but I did have a lot of fun, and there were 2 that I did feel were very successful, and I feel that there are things I want to do that are going to work better for me this year. So let's move on to those. So now these are my 6 plans for 2026. She says, not finding the notes again. Come on, you can do this. Ba-da-ba-da, where are you? Nope. Yes. Okay, found them. I'm also going to have a drink because I've been talking a lot and I'm quite thirsty. Okay, my 6 plans for 2026. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the Middlegrade Madness Challenge. So I have mentioned this in posts, and if you're in my Discord, then you obviously already know about this. So because of the Middlegrade Readers' Choice Awards, I have been chatting with lots of people in the Middlegrade Mad Chat Discord, and Stacey came up with this, was saying that she was going to use them to try and read through the lists to kind of up the middle grade books that she read. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to like work through everything and have like a challenge, like a year-long challenge? So because I'm not going to be doing Journey-a-thon this year, I thought this is a great way of me doing a creative outlet without having such a big kind of deadline to it. So I've made some graphics. I've put together the 2023, 2024 and 2025, all the possible nominee books. And I've also made one of just the shortlists, so you can like tick off the books as you go through. I am going to be making a video just on this challenge because I've also made some like interactive prompts and maps. Interactive maps with prompts that you can do on the challenge as well, should you want to, just because I find all of that stuff fun. I love a map. I love book prompts and kind of bookish based games. So I thought that would be exciting. So I'm in the process of doing that at the moment. So that will come out at some point. But the idea is essentially just reading over the year, seeing how many of the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Award books I can read. So I can see, because we're all hyped about these books sound great, and I actually do want to read them. So that is my plan. My personal plan for this is I would like to be reading 1 a month. So I'd like to get through 12. So I want to get through 4 from 2023, 4 from 2024 and 4 from 2025. That is my plan. I'm also hoping to kind of do like a quarterly update. So sort of like for a winter season, autumn season, blah, 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 sort of talking through which 3 books I've read and what I thought about them, and also using the interactive map and prompts to choose which ones I am going to be reading over that period. So that's my plan. We'll see how it goes. But ideally, I'd like to do 1 in March, 1 in June, 1 in September and 1 in December. My second plan for 2026 is going to be the TBR Tin again, but it's going to be different. So this time it's going to be a chance tin. So I'm going to put in here 12 books that I am intimidated by. So 12 books that I keep seeing on my shelf and going, yes, I do want to read that. Just not now. So I'm going to put them in here. I'm also going to put in 12 books that I'm hyped for. So I don't know. There's a little bit of a danger element. I don't know what I'm going to get when I pull books out of here. So 12 books I'm really, really excited to read off my shelves. And again, I do find that I'm so excited for them. I'm waiting for that perfect reading moment. And then they just don't get read and they just sit there. So to stop them languishing on the shelves, we're going to make the perfect reading moment and I'm going to do them. So I have, I'll go through and kind of put them in the tin. I'll do that in another video when I'm kind of all setting it up. But I think that's going to work really well for me. And my plan is that I'm going to do things more seasonally. So rather than like monthly TBRs and wrap-ups and logging everything that I do, I loved doing that. It was so much fun. I would, if I had nothing else that I was doing, that would be great. But I can't fit it in. It's too much to try and fit in. And the books sit there and look at me because I haven't wrapped them up, and then I'm going behind time, and then it's just feeling a little bit too stressful, and I'm feeling like I've got homework. So I need to break out of that. That's why the break was so important for me, to just like stop the way I do booktube so I can come back and do it differently. So my way of doing it differently is to do it more seasonally rather than monthly. So what I'm hoping to do with the tin is that when I do a TBR for the season, I'll choose maybe like four of the books from here. So hopefully four books that I'm hyped about, and two books I'm hyped about and 2 books I'm intimidated. And I'm just going to have them on my shelf. So it's to remind me that I could pick them up if I'm in the right mood. So again, it doesn't have to be, you have to read this now. It's encouraging me that at some point over that time period, I could pick them up and read them. My third plan. This is the plan that I am most unsure whether or not it will happen. But it's a plan and I'd like it to happen. So we'll see. So this is in November 2026. They are going to announce 8 books for the children's booker. I'm not a prize book winner reader, but I am very envious of all the people that get excited about prize season, that read. I love following The Plod by Charlie and Jem for the women's fiction, and I find that really exciting. So, but it's not necessarily my style of reading. So to have a children's book prize is really exciting. So there's going to be 8 books. I would like to read those 8 books that are announced for the children's booker. And then the winner is announced in February 2027. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I don't know how easy it's going to be to get hold of the books. I don't know if I'm going to feel up for reading a load of books around that time period. I don't know. But it's a plan. It's a plan. My 4th plan is going back to series. So ideally, I have cut down my series. From having a break from booktube, I was able to like cut down a lot on my series, and it feels much more manageable and workable for me. And I think because I was documenting my series in like a log, I felt like I needed to kind of continue with ones that maybe I didn't need to continue with. So that kind of has took the pressure off me a little bit. So I'll probably go through that. If I hopefully I'm going to do a goals video as well, and I can go through that a little bit more there. But my happy number is having 10 series that I'm reading at once. So on the go. Now, and this kind of means ones where I need to continue within a couple of months, or I'm going to forget the story. So there are some books that I'm not logging. Like, I've never logged Heartstopper on a series, because basically as soon as a new one comes out, I put my name on the waiting list, get it from the library, I read it as soon as I get it, because it's just so easy to read. So I never feel the need to document it and remind myself to keep going with that one. And I don't feel the need to reread everything to get myself up to date, because it's a simple story. Wonderful story, but it's not complex. You can pick it up and follow it. So the 10 series on the go is a good number for me. But what I want to be doing is, as well as continuing to read through those, I also want to choose 2 adult series where I already own all of the books in that series. And I want to choose 2 adult series that I want to start, so I just own 1 book. And then I want to do that with 1 YA series, where I own all the books, 2 middle grade series I own all the books, and 2 middle grade series where I've just got the starter book. And out of that selection, I want to read 2 full series and 2 series where I just start the first book. That's what I'd like to do. So it encourages me to read the books off my shelves rather than going, oh no, I can't start any more series right now. That's the plan. My 5th plan is, this stems from looking at the Middle Grade Reader's Choice Awards, the 11 books on the shortlist. There was only 1 book that was by a global majority author. Only 1 out of 11. And that one was a contemporary. It wasn't a fantasy. Fantasy is my favourite. Fantasy definitely seems to be in my little bubble of booktube, especially my middle grade bubble. Middle grade fantasy tends to be the favourite ones that we read. So I want specifically to read middle grade fantasy series where they are written by a global majority author, because these are clearly harder to find, harder to pick up. They're not as promoted. There are some that are, obviously Amari springs to mind. And I'm going to be reading Amari anyway. We have the 4th book coming, which is thrilling, but I want other ones. I want more. I want to be able to talk about more and encourage more and hopefully get more on the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Awards list. So I want to read 6 first books in fantasy series. And I'd like them all to have possible links to different countries. So it's not just, you know, the USA or Britain. You know, I'd like to have fantasy series that are set in other countries with other cultures. And I'd love 3 of those 6 to have been published in 2026. So that's my plan. I'd like to try and do that. We'll see how we go. And my final plan links to rereading, but this time I'm going to do it differently. So it's going to be a shelf choice. So I have got 14 shelves in my home with books on. So I am going to randomly select 2 of those shelves. So this could be a shelf in the hallway and the fantasy shelf in my bedroom. And then I'm going to select them by doing like a spinner wheel and seeing what shelves come up. Then from those 2 shelves, I'm going to shop my shelf and I'm going to choose 2 books I want to reread. Possibly 3 books. We'll see. 3 books maximum that I want to reread, and then hopefully that will encourage me to reread, because it's me going, what do I feel like reading now, and encouraging me and giving myself permission to reread. So those are my 6 plans. So plan number 1, where I'm doing the Middle Grade Madness challenge. Plan number 4, where I am selecting new series for me to start, finish, or just start. And plan number 5, where I'm going to be reading middle grade fantasy books by global majority authors, are ones that are going to be consistently kind of spread out over the year. I haven't got a set time where I'm starting or finishing those. With my plan number 3, where it's the children's booker, that obviously can't start till November. But my plan number 2 and plan number 5 are going to be part of my seasonal TBR and sort of check-in videos, where I'm going to be setting up my TBR for the season, and I'm going to be then kind of reflecting on what books I've enjoyed over those few months. Not going to be talking about everything, just ones I want to talk about, and maybe some stats, maybe not. I'll see how I feel, but that kind of general chatter, that's how I'm going to be doing it going forward. So I'm still doing a bit of booktube, but it's not feeling like I have to do it a particular way. I can just kind of dip in and dip out of it a bit more, but I have missed it and I do want to chat books. So where with my TBR tin and my rereader shelf, I am going to be doing those kind of within like the TBR video. So I'll be pulling 4 books out of the tin, and I will be choosing 2 shelves and selecting books, and that's going to make my seasonal shelf, which is just a kind of a selection that I can kind of have in my mind's eye, that I'm going to be mainly like just to kind of highlight, just to kind of encourage me to read those, but it's not going to be as set in stone. That's my plan. Those are my 6 plans. I'm excited. Do get chatty in the comments. Do you think I'm going to manage it? Do you think it's manageable? Do you think I should focus on one more than the other? What plans have you got for 2026? I would love to know what your reading plans are. And if you've enjoyed this video, do give it a like, because that's always nice. If you like the vibe, why not subscribe? And most importantly, read some great books when you are in the right mood to pick up that book. Happy reading, everyone.